Hi there, my name is Birgit Neu. I am a senior DEI advisor and a very longtime friend of Gender Networks, and I am here today to talk to you about the difference between equity and equality. Now, why is this important? Well, of course, this year, our International Women's Day theme for the 8th of March is #EmbraceEquity. So it's important to make sure that we understand what the differences between equity and equality are. We know that this is an area of confusion for many people, and we want to make sure that we're driving the right kinds of conversations for the events and activities that we are running across International Women's Day. So the purpose of me here today is to talk to you a little bit about that. So even though these two terms of equity and equality are often used quite interchangeably, and in fact, many times when we see the E in DEI, sometimes it's one and sometimes it's the other, but the concepts are actually quite different. And the objective really for both of them is fairness. Equity and equality are basically two different ways to try and achieve that. Equality basically means that everybody is treated in the exact same way, regardless of what they need or any other individual differences that they may have. Equity means that everybody is provided with what they need to succeed in order to achieve the same outcome. So as an example of this, if we're thinking about women's networks and what our organizations typically do, in an equality model, we would give all women access to the same kind of leadership training if we were trying to help them get promoted into a director role, for example. But in an equity model, we would recognize that different women might need different kind of support in order to achieve the same outcome. In this case, again, that promotion to a director role. So that's one way of looking at it. Another thing that you might have seen or be familiar with is a little infographic that tends to make the rounds. It is a picture on one side of three children of very different heights. They are trying to see over a fence to see a baseball game on the other side of the fence. If we give all three children a box, the same size box to stand on, for two of the kids, they are then tall enough in order to see over the fence. But the third child, even with the same size box as the other two kids, is not tall enough in order to be able to see over and still experiences that barrier. So again, that would be an equality model because all three kids are given the same size box. In an equity model, there's recognition that what we're trying to do is enable all three kids to be able to see over the fence, so they all get to stand on different size boxes according to their height that enable them to achieve that end goal of being able to see over. So again, these are challenging concepts. They have slightly different historical contexts as well. For those of you who've been working in this space for some time, you will recognize that we were probably mostly talking about equality up until about maybe 5 years ago or so. Equality is really one of the central principles behind democracy, and it is based on that belief that all people should have the same kinds of opportunities in order to be successful and to lead more productive lives. It is all about fairness. It's also very closely connected to concepts of things like meritocracy, again, which there's been a lot of discussion about in the diversity space. It's a fantastic idea, but what we often see is that it doesn't always work quite as it should in practice. Now, the idea of equality is also, important. And we think about everybody in society wanting to be able to achieve based on their efforts and what they put in, rather than getting ahead in society based on their status or on their background. And equality was also really important if we think about legal frameworks and the Equality Act here in the UK. It's all about trying to make sure that different groups of people have equal standing or equal treatment within the law. But more recently, there's been a much bigger debate about whether equality goes far enough in terms of everybody being able to achieve their diversity and inclusion ambitions, or is equity really the concept that we need to be spending more time on, because it recognizes that everybody doesn't start from the exact same place in society, and everybody doesn't need the exact same amount of help in order to achieve the same outcome. We know that different people might have much more challenging conditions or different circumstances that are making it harder for them. Even if they put in the same effort, they will still not be able to achieve the same kind of end goal. And equity is really important as we think about people who've been historically disadvantaged, where it will always be just that much more challenging for them to be successful. And when we think about what is fair for different people, it's not about giving them the same thing, but it's about being really conscious of what the starting points for different groups of people are. So equity really takes that kind of historical background and other factors into consideration when thinking about what is fair. So hopefully that's given you a little bit more detail. Again, key things to remember here is that equity and equality are not the exact same thing, even though we use those terms interchangeably. Equality means that everybody is treated the exact same way, regardless of their difference. For equity, it means that everybody's provided with what it is that they need to succeed. So again, hope that's been really, really helpful. Hope you all have fantastic International Women's Day events and activities, and I look forward to hearing more about it at an upcoming meeting of Gender Networks. Thanks so much.